Do you feel the vibes?
Hey everyone, my name is Prototype. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're not. Today we're going to be talking about the balance changes coming on May the 3rd. Now earlier today, Supercell actually tweeted out that they're going to be making these balance changes along with the other update that was coming out that I talked about yesterday. So if you guys haven't seen that video, be sure to go check it out. But included in these balance changes are the Mortar, the Bomb Tower, the Elixir Collector, the Cannon, the Royal Giant, the Mirror, the Valkyrie, the Mini P.E.K.K.A, and for every single unit they're going to be working a little bit on the range values. So starting off with the Mortar, the deployment time is going to be increased to 5 seconds from 3 seconds, and the damage is going to be decreased by 10%. This is very similar to what they did to the Expo, which is great because once the Expo got nerfed, everybody jumped over to using the Mortar. Now when it came to the Expo, they did nerf the range so that it was a little bit harder for you to hit the enemy tower. You had to place it directly at the front, and they didn't nerf the range for the Mortar, so that means it'll still be able to hit towers the same way that it does now. Now this is actually a huge update. It is very much needed because Clash Royale is focusing a lot on offensive gameplay instead of just dropping down a mortar and defending that. That's not really how they want the game to be, so this is definitely a step in the right direction in that regard. Now moving on to the Bomb Tower, they decreased the lifetime to 40 seconds from 60 seconds. Definitely a huge nerf to that thing. I believe it still has the same amount of health, so it's going to be still pretty overpowered depending on the situation, of course, but you can't just let it sit there for a whole minute. It's only going to sit there for 40 seconds, which is a great improvement. Again, this is along the lines of decreasing the defensive gameplay aspect of the game. Of course, they do want defenses to still be in the game. It kind of adds a little bit more variety to it instead of just having the troops that you place down, but the Bomb Tower is definitely going to be a lot less useful now. It's still going to come into play, but it's not really going to be in every single deck. Now moving on to the Elixir Collector, they decreased the hit points by 20%, which is actually pretty interesting. They didn't want to decrease the lifetime of it, so the lifetime I believe is still the same as it was before. The only difference is that you can take it out a little bit easier. If you were to use it defensively, like in front of your towers, then it would be taken out much quicker and it wouldn't be as useful in that regard. I'm not exactly sure what this brings its health to in some situations, but this might make it a little bit better if you were to fireball the Elixir Collector. I know some people use the rocket against it, and it's not really the best idea, but it does take it out in one shot, so I'm not really sure how close the fireball would come to taking it out in one shot, but I think it's definitely something that might be a little bit more effective compared to the rocket. Alright, now moving on to the Cannon, they decreased the hit points by 11%, which is actually a very interesting number, but that's what they believe to be the best. The Cannon was a huge counter to the Hog, and now that they have it nerfed, it's not going to be quite as effective against the Hog, so we'll have to find a little bit more of a defense for that. Possibly the Barbarians, they do a good job at stopping the Hog, stuff like that. They're just going to have to find something that works for that. Of course, the Freeze can easily take out Barbarians, so this is definitely a huge hit. Hog Freeze is definitely going to be one of the more popular decks now that the Cannon is slowly fading out of the picture. Now let's move on to the Royal Giant. His range is increased by 1. The Royal Giant's low usage rate shows that he hasn't yet found his purpose. A longer range will allow him to outrange most defensive buildings and make him the demolitionist he was born to be. Now this is huge, guys. This means that the Royal Giant will be able to outrange bomb towers, maybe inferno towers, anything like that. Teslas, I mean, I guess it really won't work against the Tesla because the Tesla will be down if he's out of the range. That's kind of interesting, something to think about, but this is definitely going to bring him back into the picture. A lot of people were really hoping that he would do a lot better than he does right now. He definitely is an interesting card. He's very unique in the fact that he targets towers, but he's only from a range. So like I said, this will bring him back into the picture. Hopefully we'll find some really crazy decks involving him. It's definitely going to be hard to build a strategy around him, but some people might be able to think of something really cool. Since he is a tank, he should be in the front, so it's kind of strange, but I'm sure a lot of people will find a great use for him. Now moving on to the Mirror, this is one of the cards that Supercell has had a lot of trouble with patching. They really want to find the perfect balance for it, and honestly it's a good sign that they just keep working on it. So common and rare cards will be mirrored 1 level higher. Now this is a little bit deceiving because they did actually nerf the Mirror a while back, making them mirror 1 level lower, so mirroring common and rare cards 1 level higher actually brings them to the normal level. So if you were to mirror a level 5 common, you would get a level 5 common back from that mirror. Now this doesn't actually apply to epics, it only says common and rare cards, so I believe that epics will mirror the same way that they do now. I'm pretty sure that's one level lower than what the card actually is, but I don't really know because I don't use the mirror that often. This just brings about a whole lot more balance changes that they really want to implement. It kind of makes the game a little bit more balanced. The mirror is definitely, like I said, one of the trickier cards to balance. Just adding on another troop of the same kind is really interesting. So I'm glad that they're making this change. Like I said, it's definitely something that they want to make perfect. All right, moving on to our last two cards. We'll talk about them together because they have the same exact nerf. Now, when it comes to the Valkyrie and the Mini P.E.K.K.A, both of them are unaffected when they're hit by a fireball, but now they'll be pushed back whenever they're hit by one. They say whenever a large fireball lands on your face, you should feel it. And look as though you feel it. The Valkyrie is tough as nails, but she's not that tough. This change is for consistency with all other small to medium-sized troops. The same thing goes for the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Now, I really like what they're doing here with this. Definitely adding consistency is a huge balancing issue that they really need to fix. The Valkyrie was definitely one of the more overpowered troops. The Mini P.E.K.K.A hadn't really been that popular. It is in the lower arenas, but once you get up to the top, the Valkyrie definitely takes its place. So now that they're nerfing both of these, fireballs definitely should affect them. This is going to help out quite a bit since neither of them will easily be taken out with fireballs. You have to do a bit more damage with other things, so this will definitely help out a lot with that. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is actually affecting every single card in the game. It's the range values. We fixed a bug where the handling of attack ranges wasn't consistent with different sized units. Due to this, the range values will appear to be smaller than before for some units in the next update, but the ranges are all effectively the same as before. One example of this is when two units with the same range encountered each other, they didn't always attack at the same time. This has been fixed. Also, the King Tower's range seen here in a different picture that they show appears to have been decreased, but it hasn't. Likewise, with the Royal Giant, we're increasing his range by 1, but his info on the screen will show a range of 6 in the next update, even though it has increased. This is definitely one of the issues that they needed to fix. I hadn't really noticed it. It's kind of small, but everything that can be fixed should be fixed, of course, and it definitely will add more balancing to the game. It's not really like that huge of a deal, but it could make a difference. Definitely one of the small things that could have actually affected a win or a loss. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to these new updates. This video ended up being a little bit longer, so if you're still around, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well if you're new. It means so much to me. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys all later.